So we needed to pin down the Panamanian Defense Forces so they couldn't reinforce the airfield, and then clear the barracks and, kill anyone that resisted, capture anyone that was ready to give up. And before we got to the barracks, there was this guard shack, and it's cement guard shack. It's completely typical of what you see. It's still like that in Central America. You know what I mean? The cheap cement with the little red clay roof on it. And we start maneuvering up on that thing. So there's the road, and there's kind of ditches on each side. And we're all kind of anchored on one side, and then the machine gun is on the other side of the ditch. And we're kind of maneuvering up on this guard shack, and all of a sudden, a little pistol, it was like a snub-nosed 38. The dude, we see a hand come up, and he starts like, pull, the snub-nosed 38. And I'm looking at that, because it's all lit up. It's a guard shack with the arm to control traffic. And I'm thinking, does this guy have any idea what's happening? Like, dude, there's a squad of Rangers coming after you with a machine gun. What do you think you're gonna do with a revolver snub-nosed 38? But he boom, boom, boom. And then it stops, and we continue to advance. And then an M16, because Panama was our friends. They're not AK-47 guys, and he just starts spraying. So now it's like, okay, this guy voted. He's done. So we start engaging, and I yell at my squad automatic weapon gunner, M249 machine gun, and I say, hey man, get suppressive fire down on that thing. We're gonna bound around. And he shoots up. He's shooting up high above the guard shack. And I'm yelling, bring your fire down, bring your fire down. And he brings it down onto the roof. I'm like, bring your fire down, bring your fire down. And it doesn't ever get lower than the roof. So I switch over to Ray. I say, Ray, finish this. He has a M203 grenade launcher. And Ranger Ray from Moultrie, Georgia, that dude was a really good soldier. He was a sniper with that M203. So he drops a round right in the guard shack. Not easy to do. He drops it right into the guard shack. Boom, it goes off. We assault through. We get to the guard shack. The team leader is in the lead. So me and a couple guys behind. We turn to look at the guard shack, and the dude's not there. The 380 is laying on the ground. The M16 is like in pieces because of the 203 had broken it up. And I'm like, where the hell did he go? And I turn to look, and he's lying in the grass. Like, if he still would have held on or whatever, so I turn, and he's lying in the grass. He's from me to you away. I just didn't see him in the dark. And he's lying down, facing that way. I can smell that he wet himself and crapped his pants. And he's wearing a t-shirt and like some loose, I think they were fatigue pants, and I think he had flip-flops on. He was not the guy dressed to be in that guard shack. He probably, I don't know what it was. Anyway, I remember being angry. I flip around, and I remember being angry and this dude could have killed me. He's facing the wrong way, but man, he got the jump on me. He turns around, he's on his back facing away, and he kind of turns around and looks at me. I turn my weapon on him, and dude, again, this is one of those memories that's so vivid. I'm flipping my selector lever from safe to fire, and I'm beginning to squeeze the trigger, thinking in my head, where do I shoot him? He's our targets. You don't shoot the backs. We don't have targets with backs. We have targets with fronts, right? You shoot their front, but his back is to me, and he's turning. So I'm thinking do I shoot him in the face? Do I shoot him in the back? Where's the right place to shoot this guy, And I've described this before. It's almost like I had a good angel and a bad angel on my shoulder. I'm trying to figure out what's the right place to shoot this guy? This is weird. I've never shot someone in the back before. I've never shot anyone, period, but target-wise, And this voice in my head is hey man, this dude is a non-combatant. Clearly, he's afraid for his life. And the bad angel's this is the same dude that just threw rounds at you guys. And the good angel's is it though? And the bad angel's of course, look, it's clear as day, it's the same guy, kill him. Good angel is saying, take him captive. No, don't kill him. I remember this discussion in my head, dude. And the bad angel's this is war. This is war. He shot at you. It's time for him to die. And this is all happening in that amount of time. And then finally, I very distinctly remember the good angel saying, the night is young. There'll be plenty of killing to do.
To go after Abu Sayyaf, and he was the last one that had Kayla Mueller being held and raping her, and all the stories that you'd hear from the Yazidi slaves that would be either they'd escape. It was just disgusting, man. And it just was, we sat over there because we went over there to go 2 periods of darkness. We were going to go do this, go get Kayla, and then that turned into she's been killed, and then he moved targets. So no notice deployment, warm start, cold, whatever you want to call it. And we stayed there in tents, just waiting for months. And then we finally got a window and we went, and it was this big moving piece from Erbil all the way deep into Syria. Aerial refuels, it was a big mission. They consider it a treasure trove of intelligence that we got from that. It was something 7 terabytes of intelligence that we captured.
You went in by helo.
Yeah, so I was on the 60s and my team fast roped to the rooftop. It was 3 stories, but the 3rd story was a cupola with a stairwell that went down the center. So think 4 condos, apartments. So 2 on the top floor and then 2 on the bottom. We cycled in, so the 4 little birds went into the ground on the street with the other troop to flood the floor, the bottom floor, and then we roped into the roof. But we timed it to where their charges, we knew their charges were going to go off before we could get ours on. And when that happened, it blew the doors, our breaches open. So, and I'm coming down the stairwell in the cupola, and my 2 ICs up front, and it's a stairwell that, landing and then coming back down. And I see this guy, a shadowy figure, kind of through. I could see from. I was on a halfway down on the stairs, and I could see into the apartment after the door blew open. The breaches were right behind the 2 ICs, and they're like, oh. They're sticking the charges on the wall, put them up to get their hands back on the rifle, and this dude comes flying in, or out. He got within 2 feet of my mate, and he was hiding behind this female. I could just see it, he's running out with the pistol, and to her head. He had no idea we were right there. Before it became more of a thing, I was able to see that, even just a snapshot of, I'm talking 3 or 4 feet of depth into the room. I was able to key off that, and then I shot him from the stairwell, and essentially in the top of his head, and then he just Supermaned down the stairs, and she kept running. Before that became, he made it it would have been from
Me to you.
Me, closer than that to my teammates. It was a really tight shot, period. Between her head, his head, and then my mate, off his rifle. And then that was just oh, this is how this is gonna start. And then we just kept going. And there was moments where dudes, and this is why when I teach people, because I learned this lesson, and my mates did, if I take one of my hands off my rifle, I'm going to transition to my pistol to do whatever it is I need to do. Because downstairs they got into a situation where they open a closet door and there's a chick jumps out or whatever. One of my mates goes to grab the female, out of there, and then an AK gets shoved in his face, and he grabs the barrel, and the dude just starts racking rounds off next to his head, and he's just controlling the muzzle with his own hands now. A wrestling match now.
Yeah.
Now my other mate had to get into a position to take a shot on this cat, and it's the same way with ladders. I've shot someone on a roof from popping up where ISR said the roof was clear, and they're hiding under layers of man. Then you get a gun shoved in your face. Well, at least I had my red dot sight looking through my nods as I'm coming up on a ladder rung. It's something that I talk about, and it's founded in real world experience on why rifles aren't meant to be shot with one hand. I'm strong. And there's plenty of strong people out there, but that's not the way that they're meant to cycle and to function, and damn sure not shoot accurately or surgically. But I can do that with my pistol in one hand if I need to. So transition.
How did the op end?
Man, we got the DAPs barely made it back. They got shot through the refueling boom, and they barely were able to fly those things back. We f***ed them up, period. Anyone that was still alive, that was ISIS, the leadership came in and executed them for not dying with their commanders.
Do you want to talk about your first kill?
Sure. He was wearing his white man jammies, and he had black and white peppered hair. And at this particular compound, they were sleeping outside. Usually they're up on the roof. And in summer it was summertime, but they were in the courtyard or the outside. So there's these little bodies, and you can hear our recce guys, our snipers. You can hear their silenced 45s just taking dudes out, taking their little sentries out. And I'm okay, that's cool sounding. This is probably my 10th time out, maybe. Never found myself in the right position. And I was hungry. I was oh God. I think Dom got his first one. I'm God, I want to be you. And he you can just see the smile on his face. I'm give it to me, please. And so this dude and his wife are sleeping on the ground, and we're coming up, and it was enough to go white light, and I just see him reach over, and I can see the pistol grip, goes for it, and then I just dropped him right there. Well, he was already down, just shot him there as he lay. And I remember one thing that was so crazy about that is his wife right next to him did not make any peep, did not cry. She just looked over and just stayed there. She sat up, that was it. She had no emotion.
Are you kidding?
And I was that's weird. Right? It was very weird. It's she knew this time was coming. She's just waiting for the night for us to hit him.
Do you think she was relieved?
Possibly. Who knows? And she could have been forced to be there. But she had, I would be led to believe that. If you have no emotion,
Seems so.
But there was nothing, man. It was just seemed very weird. And then we just take on the targets, and then that feeling of putting those bullets in was just I know crack is extremely addictive. Extremely. I've never done it, but you hear the stories, right? Talk to some prior users or whatever. That feeling was like, I was like, I want my life to beat this feeling. Like, I want to shoot as many bad guys as I possibly can.